Hi everyone, welcome to Girls for STEM. Thank you so much for always coming to this channel. I really do appreciate. Guys, remember I just went to Africa and now I am back and we have very important content that I've brought for you today. And today we have a very important guest to me. I have been talking to this guest for some time. Most of you guys have seen him. His name is Mr. Magawa. And today, Mr. Magawa is going to share very exciting information with us. And remember, previously when he came to our show, remember he's a physicist in Zambia. He was talking about how he would like to produce or write books about physics and many other aspects, topics. So today he's going to share about what is happening in his life and also what he's been doing all this time. So I'm going to bring him up, guys. So just hang in there. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. If you're coming here for the first time, make sure you subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell notification. And remember, we're here to encourage girls pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, including boys, men. We're also here to showcase other scientists who are pursuing STEM and what they're doing in their lives, just to show us, as role models to see what they're doing. Also, we're here to show the girls the endeavors, how technology is, what can they do, how is it out there when they are pursuing, when people are pursuing science and technology. So, guys, I'm going to bring up Mr. Magawa. Let's see what he's doing and what he's been up to. Hi, Mr. Magawa. Thank you so much for coming to Girls for STEM. This is not the first time you've been here, right? You've been here before.
Yeah, I've been on this platform. I think this should be the third or fourth time. I think so.
Yes, so most of you guys must have seen Mr. Magawa. So, Mr. Magawa, you have very exciting information that you'd like to share with us. But before we go uh, that far, can you please share with my viewers what are you doing? What are you doing right now? Who are you? I know you're a physicist, but please could you share with my viewers one more time? What do you do? Who are you?
Right now, um, I'm working with the mines. I've been contracted to supervise certain projects in new concentrator to Mopani copper mines.
Yes.
So I'm working in different departments: civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering. So that's where I'm really operating. So sometimes I'm asked to go and supervise, so I act as a consultant. So we agree, then I go and supervise the project. So recently I was just supervising the project on waterproofing. So these are things which I do. Of course, I've got my own work which I find myself doing, and at the same time I continue doing research because I'm a physicist. So that is my blood. So uh, from work, I have to concentrate also on my own research, which I've considered to be my projects, even if they are not really bringing money to me. But as a physicist, it's important for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for that introduction. And we really do appreciate having you on this channel. Thank you so much for always coming and just supporting Girls for STEM and also to learn more about you because you have very interesting things that you're doing. So, Mr. Magawa, I have heard or know that you have actually written about 4 books. Guys, this is so amazing. Being an engineer or a physicist or a technologist, one of the things is also to teach others, to showcase some of the things that we are doing or you are doing to other people who are upgrowing. I always talk about pulling a rope, to get somebody up to where we are. So Mr. Magawa has produced about 4 books. So let's learn from him and hear from him what he has been up to. So Mr. Magawa, could you share with my viewers what are you doing right now and how many books have you produced right now?
So I have written and compiled 4 books. Yeah, so these 4 books, uh, I've had an arrangement with Amazon. So let me just try to share with you the screen.
So what is Mr. Magaba is trying to share with us the screen. So guys, Mr. Magaba has produced about 4 books, which is going to share with us. Is going to let us know exactly which ones are those and what are they all about. You know, it's very interesting to have someone, guys, like a physicist who can help us understand more about physics. So let's just wait for him to pull up those the site, and so that he can show us exactly what. So let us know, Mr. Magaba, once you are ready.
Yes. So these are the books. Are you able to receive this?
Yes, I can go ahead and start explaining. Yeah, we can see them, but make it big. Make it like, hold on, let me do this. Okay,
I
yeah.
can, I can, I can. So I can isolate one book there. So let me start again. The way. Okay. Are you able to see me?
I'm seeing everything, Mr. Magaba. You can go ahead and start talking now.
Okay. So when you go to Amazon Central, okay, when you go to Amazon.com, you type just my name, then you will have access to Amazon Central. So you're able to see this cursor. So this cursor, it will give you the home, profile, books, and reports concerning my marketing strategies. So this is my profile there. But if you want to now from there, I can show you now. These are the books. So the books, the first one is Imaging Medical Physics, X-ray Interaction with Matter. So this book, the main idea is if someone has gone for imaging at the hospital, and then whether it's a CT scan or an X-ray or could be a mammography, the question is when X-ray is directed in his or her body, what happens to the atoms and the electrons within that person's body when they interact with X-rays? What goes on? How is the image being formed? What is the physics behind that? So this is what this physics book is talking about. So no one is talking about the imaging. So how does the X-ray? How is the interaction between X-rays and human body's electrons form an image when they interact? So that's why it's called imaging medical physics, because it has to deal with a human body and how these X-rays interact with matter. Here, matter is the human body, and here matter is the human body. So the detailed part of this physics is it talks much about how this image is formed through Compton scattering, of course, or through photoelectric effect. So it also mentions the dangerous part, or which may contribute to the formation of cancer, that is Compton effect, which is very dangerous. So the book also explains that. So it also highlights a measure of dosage which is extended to a person for the image for during the time of radiology, or when the person when this image is being produced in a person. So the whole of this book is the physics behind that medical imaging. So that's what this book is talking about. And then when you go to the next one, this is Radiology and Imaging Science. So this one is a comprehensive imaging book. So when you talk about CT scan, the whole of the CT scan, what goes on, the medical side as well as the physics part. So it's a comprehensive imaging of all the imaging sciences which are involved. So CT scan, mammography, X-ray radiology. It also talks about ultrasound, ultrasound is also there.
Okay. Mr. Magawa, are you done?
There was just some disturbances. I was just trying to wait to be clear. So, so when we talk about imaging science, it's all comprehensive part of imaging science, which is in this book. So, so just as I mentioned, CT scan, MRI, mammography, as well as ultrasound. So all these, they are described well in this book. So for example, if a doctor wants to read an image produced by an X-ray machine, he wants to read what is happening, how is the penetration of X-ray radiation, and how the image. So he can consult in this book. So this book can help him what is involved in this. Or if a lady has gone to go and have breast cancer check, so that is what we call mammogram. She's going to be exposed to a mammogram machine. So the dosage and the penetration of that, and how she should act before and after that, it is also in the information is also in this book. So this one is very much comprehensive about all radiology. So that's why I call it radiology and imaging science. And then the third one, this is now the physics of X-ray and gamma ray generation. The question is how do these machines we talked about in this book, how are these X-rays produced? So these machines, when you talk about the CT scan with MRI, you talk about the mammogram machine, how do they produce X-ray? In those machines, what is the physics behind the production of those X-rays? Or what is the physics behind the production of gamma rays? So these books now highlight the physics behind X-ray generation. So it's much of engineering, what goes on inside. What is the deep physics behind that? If it is, what do you need to do to produce X-rays which are supposed to be used for imaging? So now these books highlight the physics behind X-ray generation. Not only that, it also highlights the physics behind gamma ray generation. So you find that in this book, there is now what we call nuclear physics is also there, atomic physics is also there, and also even nuclear engineering is also in this book. Now this book can also be used for those who want to do an introduction in nuclear physics, because it is also part of that. So so if you look about the subtopic, for example, it says the physics of X-ray and gamma ray generation, and then down there it says non-destructive testing and AUTO-RADIOGRAPhy. So now this is now, when you say non-destructive testing, here in Zambia, when we go to the industrial area, we have the company called Alfred and Knight. So they have the X-ray, they have the equipment which they use to test structures. So structures, those which have underwent welding, so they'll test if the welding was strong enough. So what do they use? They use X-ray equipment to test. Now, the use of X-ray to test structures, we call it NTD. That is what we call non-destructive testing. So that is the industrial application of this X-ray. So all this information also is in this book. And then also when you talk about gamma ray, how it is being used to store information in microchips. So it's what we call AUTO-RADIOGRAPhy. So this also information is in this book. So it's a bit academic, but it's more of the engineering application of this book. So when you go again to the fourth book, this is my favorite because it describes who I am. So this book is the history of atoms and matter. And then when you go down, it says Introduction to Modern and Quantum Physics. So all these which we're talking about, all these, When you talk about imaging medical physics, radiology and imaging science, and all these have been made possible because of modern and quantum physics. So now the question is, what makes this physics is what we call the smallest particle of matter, and that smallest particle, one of the smallest particle of matter we call is an atom. Now within this atom, we have protons and electrons. Within the nucleus of an atom, now we have quarks. So now the process of these particles, or the smallest of these particles, is what we call, they have built something bigger, which we call now matter. And from matter, that is where you and I, that is where you and I were created. So that is where you and I were created. So that is why I really cherish this book. So now this book, it has the whole history, what happened before that time. Did people know about atoms? What happened? What was the beginning? So it starts with Greek philosophers, whom we may call Aristotle, Democritus, John Dalton. These are English physicists, and then J.J. Thompson, uh, Rutherford. Then you have Niels Bohr. Then you also have the French physicist, that is Louis de Broglie, Albert Einstein. All these all these physicists and philosophers who contributed to establishment of atoms and the experiments they were carrying out. So this book carries all that history. And thereafter now you have now the introduction of modern and quantum physics, where these atoms are being now discussed in details, and how they have been, how this physics turn its back from classical physics. Now, under the moment, we no longer deal much with the classical physics, which was introduced by Isaac Newton. Now we are dealing with modern physics, and the architects to this modern physics are the ones which I've mentioned. So all these people which I've mentioned, these are the ones have been outlined. So we have collected information after reading various books. So I thought it was necessary to compile their history, the experiments they did, and the models they came up with regard to atoms, how these models were being improved. After being improved, what is now the modern setting of atoms and matter? Now, how can these now be properly be described? So now we looked at this, that the best way for this to be properly described, we can no longer use classical physics or Newtonian physics. So quantum physics is in the better position now to describe these particles, whether they behave as waves or as particles or matter. So now this book now highlights, no wonder it says it's an introduction to modern and quantum physics. So now on this platform of Amazon, they are helping me to advertise these books so that it can have the best market, not only within my country or even, but also on the international side. So no wonder when you look at my profile, so this is my profile. So from here, yeah. So when you look at my profile, it really shows you. Okay. Okay. Are you able to hear now? No?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you everything. So, Go ahead.
Yeah. So now, so that is those are the books which I wanted just to mention. So I've just given you a summary of each book. So a summary of each book, it just entails you the work which I've been doing behind my back doors, to say, behind the scene. So that is the work which I've been doing. I do that work when I have spare time. Yeah, so
Wow,
that work
Mr.
is
Ah, yeah, go ahead.
when yeah, so that work is done only when I have spare time. So I also have to go for work, but when I have spare time, I have to do that. So the beauty
Wow,
part is that yeah, the beauty part is that Amazon has allowed me, if I discover new updated information, I can continue updating the information in those books. So which
wow.
means each and every time, any new information will be found in that book.
Wow, that's very interesting. Mr. Magawa, what a wonderful job you have done. Guys, these are books that have been simplified in terms that you can understand easily. Make sure you can visit Mr. Magawa on Amazon. It's scrolling down how you can go there. I'm also going to put it under the video there. There's a link, guys. Make sure you click on it and it will take you to Amazon. Check it out. Look at these books. If you are an engineer, if you are a student, Mr. Magawa, can you talk about a little bit about who are these books targeted to? Can you please tell my viewers who are the targets for these books?
Okay, so like what I mentioned as the favorites. So that one, the much of the target group is is those who are doing physics, at
Yes.
bachelor's degree. So those in the third year, the difficult formulas we find in these books, in these other books which were written, there are difficult formulas which have been derived. Sometimes we just memorize them and put figures in there and find the solution to the answer. Now the question is,
Yeah, tell us the
what
difference.
is
Tell
it
us the
happening?
difference. What's so special about your books that you want
Yes,
us to come and read your books? Yes.
yeah. So if someone is doing physics, is in the third year or fourth year,
Mm.
is going to discover their Schrodinger equations.
Yes.
Schrodinger equations. Then there are also other equations, um, the Bayes equations, different equations, wave equations, which sometimes you can't understand the meaning because they are all with symbols.
Yes.
So these symbols, yeah, so these symbols have got meanings. So what I thought is that in this book, whatever formula which is there for physics, I have to explain what is going on. For example, if it is the Schrodinger equation, I have to explain what is going on in that formula so that the
Yes.
person or a student, when he's reading and doing the calculation, understands what is going on in that.
Yes.
And then not only that, for example, another example is the formula for E is equal to mc squared for Albert Einstein, for his
Yes.
special relativity. What is the
Yes.
meaning of that formula? What is the meaning? Of course, it's talking about energy. For you to have energy, you need energy can produce matter, matter can produce energy, but matter has to travel at with the speed of light. But there is
Correct.
more to it. Yeah, so that book breaks down the work of Albert Einstein, the meaning of that. How are we able to establish about that? So
Hmm.
the books, yes, the books has some basic English to say.
Okay.
So the uh, so the so the difficult part, the difficult component of those formulas, they've been broken down into simple English. So, for example, here the particle is moving at this and this and this and this. But
Hmm.
in the other books they just give you a formula. So they expect at the end of third year, they expect you to understand and interpret those formulas. So I
Yes.
thought, no, it may not be all right. Let me just come up with this book. These formulas are there, but they should be a column where I start explaining the meaning of what is going on in that side. So that
Yes.
is what makes this book, that first book, unique. That is what I call. That is what which I mentioned of the history of atoms and matter, and then introduction to modern and quantum physics. I call it my favorite because it has broken down almost all the basic physics formulas and given an
Yes.
explanation of the meaning of those formulas. Yes, that is one.
Wow.
And then this book, the third, the third book which I mentioned to you which I mentioned to you of X-ray and the gamma ray, um,
Correct.
gamma ray, and yes, the physics of X-ray and the gamma rays, in imaging science. That one is the book anyone can read. For
Wow.
example, yes. for example, a mother who is maybe 3 months expecting to have a child
Yes.
doesn't need to depend on the radiographer to give the information about the development of the child or the development of the baby. So a mother can read. There is one chapter there which talks about ultrasound. So there is just basic physics and basic information, how the image is being produced by during when someone goes for an ultrasound, and then what to look for, because sometimes our radiographers, they're humans. So when they take a picture or the image, when they take picture or an image, they sometimes situations have arisen, they make a conclusion that no, a baby has stopped developing in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is not the case. These cases have been there where a radiographer says, no, the baby has stopped developing. Hence, the pregnancy has to be terminated.
Mm.
So that hasn't been the case sometimes. Sometimes it has been maybe failure of a radiographer to read or to produce a quality picture or a quality image.
So in
So the
this
question
book,
is, how?
you explain all those details in this book.
Yes, um, in this book on ultrasound, I've explained what happens at ultrasound, how the image is produced at ultrasound, what to look for at ultrasound, and then how the one who's taking it can have a healthy and meaningful conversation with a patient or with a woman who has gone there. So meaning it equips a woman to know what is going on. So there is also there is some advanced physics, and also there is also basic physics, which any, as long as someone has gone to high school, can understand what is going on there.
Wow,
So
guys,
there is,
make sure you make sure you go there to Amazon and check out these books. You see, he's saying it's been explained in simple terms. So make sure you
yeah,
can look at this website, guys, on Amazon for Kennedy Magaba. Make sure you check this, especially students, university students, students all over the world. Check these books out. Continue, Mr. Magaba.
yeah. So on this one, I I wrote this for this book after having an assessment in the hospitals. So because I'd worked with about 3 radiographers, after interviewing them, I asked them questions. I asked them one question saying that could there be a chance when you people fail to get a proper picture and then you misread the image? So they said yes, those chances are there. So then that's when I decided to go in detail what can help also radiographers to give a proper conclusion on the image being formed. So that information is also helpful to the radiographers, even to the doctors or other medical physician or radiologists. Those are able to read that. So we have people who produce that image, and then we also have a radiologist who is the medical doctor who is in the position to read that. So now that book just enhances their ability to read that. It just gives them what they should look for. For example, if the image or the image is very difficult to read,
Mhm.
they can consult the book, and then it gives them the clue on how they can be able to understand that book or that image, which is talking about or what is going on inside the woman's womb or uterus. So that
Wow,
is
that's
why I
really,
said, okay,
really.
let me write this information and include this. Yeah. So that is after having some findings with the radiographers. Then I said, okay, let me write this information, and this information can help them also to see how best they can produce a correct image, mostly when they're dealing with life. So that is on ultrasound, and then on
Wow.
yes, on X-ray, on radiography. That is now the use of ordinary X-rays, X-ray
Yes.
equipment, X-ray machines. Yeah, they're both either digital or um, or or X-ray machines which use films. So it also helps them to see when they're dealing with a patient who is thin, how much dosage should be extended to this patient. Uh, Suppose if they're dealing with a patient who is fat, how much dosage of X-ray? What is the impact if the dosage is too much to this patient? So that information is also in that book. So that's why I call it, it is a comprehensive book, it's comprehensive imaging science book. So, and then also when it comes to the CT scan, the CT scan also, it also gives the information on what does it do for it to produce a very quality and good image. So it all is there. And also there is also information also on fluoroscopy. So fluoroscopy, this those in the medical field, they understand that it's the imaging where you have got a real view of emotional video system, where more like you're watching what is going on inside the room. For example, if a baby took a needle and then it has stick to a stomach, a sharp needle, a baby swallowed that needle and then it is in the stomach, maybe stuck in the stomach. So the question is, how do the doctor trace where it is? So they use what they call themselves as fluoroscopy. So fluoroscopy, they'll give this person some measure of liquid, which is this person is going to drink, and then put on the machine. So it's like a real-time video, so they're able to watch, okay. So the pictures will come, it's a computerized system, so they're able to trace, oh, it is there. So if they discover that it is there, that's why they're going to do a surgical operation to go and remove that. So that information is also in that book. So no wonder I said, these books, they are 40% academic, but 60% on real life. So doctors can make consultations with these books. Radiographers, those who are working, or even those who are not working, can still make reference to these books.
Wow.
So that is the beauty of...
You've talked about doctors, radiographers, students, even just general knowledge people. I mean, everyone. So everyone is definitely all just welcome to read about these books. Wow, that's really amazing.
Yeah. So for example, if they go on the platform, on my Amazon platform, so they'll click, when they find the books, there is what they call inside story. So inside the story, this is an enabling system which allows them to make a preview, to read a preview of what is inside. So they're able to give them the...
Sorry, Mr. Magaba, to cut you. So these books are only online. Do you have physical books? Like if people want to buy physical books, are there any physical books to buy?
No, physical ones, not yet. Not yet. So I've started first to do them online, because online I have a 6 billion audience from the whole world. That is one. Yes. Number two is that I need Amazon to continue advertising it for me. Yes. So that in one or another, so that is why I've decided first to put them online. Yes. So when you go online, you click each book, it will give you the introduction, the preview of what is in the book, the whole preview which is in the book. Yes. So when you just see the preview, you find that it has rich content.
Yes.
Very, very rich content. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
For example, I'll give an example.
Go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to give an example. For example, if you go on YouTube, you can go and type as fluoroscopy. So you have got different people who have talked about fluoroscopy. And then again, now in this book, you have everything in one. You get that, eh?
Yes.
You have everything. Yeah, so you have all parts in one. So in that one, you can read all what you want in just one book.
Wow.
That is on imaging science.
Yes. That's really well set up, where you just type in a topic and everything about that topic, it will be found that's in your book, right?
Yes, so that is in the book. You get it. When you get it, you get the book of imaging science. It talks about all the imaging science involved in the medical field. That is one. And then this other one, which I say the physics of X-ray and gamma ray generation. Um, this one, it can either be both used in the industrial as well as in academic setting. So it gives you the deep detailed arrangement of how X-rays are produced.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we know that X-rays are produced in the X-ray tube. So within that X-ray tube, you have the cathode and the anode. Now, what goes on at the anode? There are physics formulas which talks about the thermionic processes. How are these being produced? What goes on? If these are subjected to high temperatures, how are these electrons produced? And then if these electrons are produced, they are a target. So we shoot them to the target. So once we shoot them to the target, how do they interact with the atoms at the anode? So when they interact at with the atom with electrons at the anode, you see the X-ray production either through Compton effect or brainstorm or characteristics radiation. So you see, you're able to see that this is the actual detailed or maybe the industrial application of this. So it is, yes, it is more of industrial. It touches a bit on the academic setting. And then once we talk about also gamma radiation, it also gives you the process on how these gamma radiation are produced. Yeah. It has talked about, the book has touched about the most four fundamental forces in the universe. These fundamental forces in the universe, it has described them in detail. We talk about gravity. That is one, the weakest force in the universe.
Yes.
Electromagnetism, the most important force in the universe, which function either in the biology system as well as in other setting of science. The cell division, the fertilization system, how electromagnetic force plays the role in that. The book also mentions that. Then you also have a nuclear force, the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force. So the weak nuclear force is one of the most important force which stabilizes elements like uranium to stop emitting radiation further. So it helps it helps elements to be stabilized so that they can be settled on the surface of the earth. Then you have the strong nuclear force. The strong nuclear force occurs, it holds together the nucleus of each and every atom found in each individual element. So now all this information, it is in that book, that other book. Yeah. So it's yes, so it's quite industrial. It's but a bit academic. Those who are doing nuclear physics, they can find this book very interesting. Those who
Thank
are
you
doing
so much,
nuclear physics.
Mr. Magawa. You have catered for everyone actually to be able to read these books. So, guys, make sure you can go there. Students, I urge you. Industry people, I urge you. Young people, I urge you to go visit and see these books. You lose nothing. You can check them out and see exactly, what Mr. Magawa is talking about. Mr. Magawa, I have one more question. You are very passionate about one physics book. You said fact history of atoms and matters, introduction to modern and quantum physics. So could you just explain to us a little bit, why are you so passionate about this book? I know you're a physicist and it's something to do with physics. Is that the reason? And of course, I can see how passionate you are about physics, especially when it comes to quantum physics, atoms, energy. You get so passionate. So, what is so special about this book?
Uh, this book describes who I am. Um, this book, uh, it tells me the beginning of physics, because the beginning of physics. So when I say the beginning of physics, I include people who started to establish the existence of atoms. When the Grecian Empire, by that time it was being led by Alexander the Great.
Yes.
Yes, so Alexander the Great was the king of the Grecian Empire. So Grecian Empire was like USA at the moment. It was a superpower like United States of America. Yeah, so by that time, it was rich also in terms of academic and so the people who ruled that, the most elite people were philosophers. So in that arena, you had Aristotle and also people like Democritus. These are the people who spearheaded. Now, between these two, Aristotle and Democritus, so that is where the idea of an atom started.
Wow.
Today, we have got elements, we have this
Like
engineering.
science mixed with the history, mixed with engineering. That's where it's imaging starting from.
Yes, so Aristotle talked about this, and then Democritus also started developing. Yeah. So Democritus says he mentioned, for example, he mentioned that whether the universe is empty or it is not empty, it has to be filled with something called atomos. So atomos meaning that indivisible. It must be filled with particles which cannot be divided.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Atoms of water are not the same with atoms of other metallic elements.
Yes.
He mentioned that these atoms, or he mentioned that they are the same. It's only that the ones in water, they are smooth. That's what Democritus mentioned. They are the same, but it's only that the ones in water, they are smooth, but these others, they are hard, but they are the same. So from there, it's him who introduced the idea that the universe must have some particles which we call atoms. Him we call them atomos, meaning they cannot be divided, they cannot be ripped apart. So from there, that is when John Dalton picked it up. He did pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So he did pick it up. According to his study and experiments, he realized that no. After conducting an experiment, so he was a chemist. So after conducting, he discovered that different elements were reacting differently. So he came up to a conclusion saying that he said that atoms are not the same. Different elements have different atoms.
Yeah.
When we add these atoms together, these elements, they will form a compound with different. So him we refuted the idea of Democritus, those Greek philosophers. And then from John Dalton, there came another English physicist, J.J. Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
So J.J. Thompson is the one in the field of physics. We say he's the one who ripped the atom apart. So he said, no, if we are to rip the atom apart, we open it. It is going to it has inside some electrons and some proton. It has inside this. It's like a plum pudding model. So an atom, it was now given a model of like a plum pudding model. So a pudding is, those who deal with food, they're able to make this pudding inside and then you eat. So he said, this model, it has a plum pudding model. Now he's saying these electrons are embedded within the turf of that, the turf or this pudding. They're embedded. So him now he ripped apart. And then after him, there came Rutherford. So Rutherford disputed with that idea. So after carrying an experiment, they were proving, so he was firing some alpha particles to...
Yes, I remember now.
Yeah, okay. So when he was firing so he discovered that other particles were deflecting. So saying, what is causing this? What is causing this to deflect inside the atom? So they discovered, no, there should be something which is very hard. And that hard part, they called it now to be a nucleus.
Yes.
So now they say, now we know an atom must have what? A nucleus. Okay. So round about the nucleus, they are electrons. So now him we said, no, these electrons, they move around this. So now he was describing this using Newtonian physics. So according to Newtonian physics or classical physics, is that if a particle is moving around, it has to go undergo centripetal acceleration. And according to electrodynamics, any particle which is accelerating, it has to emit energy, radiate energy. So if this particle is
Yes.
accelerating, it is losing energy. Yes. So it was assumed that if this electron is accelerating and is losing energy, at one time we expect to go and strike to hit the nucleus. So it's like,
Yeah.
bah! And then there will be a huge explosion, then the atom will be destroyed.
Yeah.
So meaning that life cannot exist. So if you have got atoms, then life cannot exist. So that's the second one. Then this one, it has this error. So that's why now we have now a PhD student from France, Louis de Broglie. So when he was presenting his thesis, he said um, an electron does not rotate around. Oh, before Louis de Broglie, we have now Niels Bohr. So Niels Bohr was from Denmark, Copenhagen. So him was a theoretical physicist, not an experimental one. So according to his hypothesis, he said these electrons, they are in energy levels, so they cannot come to the nucleus. Okay. So from there, I mean, we had now this young man whom I love most, a PhD student. Before graduation, he submit his thesis. He says, no, my calculations, these electrons, they behave as waves. So they have got a wave particle duality. So no wonder they cannot be able to reach the nucleus, because in certain places they can be there, they cannot be there. So so the Marcus disputed that until when Albert Einstein used to visit France. So he had access to his theories. So when he read it, he said, no, the young man is right. So that is why that's when he was given the PhD. So after
Wow,
getting
guys,
the PhD,
this is amazing history about atoms and electrons. You know, atoms, they move haphazardly, you know, your electrons, they move haphazardly and all that nine yards. So, guys, this is the book to read. As you can hear, Mr. Magawa is explaining the history of how they started working with electrons, understanding what it means, radiation, and things like that. So, he's just giving us a taste of the book, of what's in the book and why he loves this book. So again, he's just going through the history. I asked him the reason why he likes one of the books. It says History of Atoms and Matter, Introduction to Modern Quantum Physics. So he's just explaining the history, why he loves about this book. It's because it talks about the history of atoms and electrons and how we advance to where we are. So not to cut you, Mr. Magawa, I was just trying to make sure I can update the audience so they can really understand what we're talking about.
yes. So that's the beauty about. So when De Broglie, so it's like here is Louis De Broglie, this French physicist, a PhD student. By that time should have been around 25 or 27 years or somewhere there. It's very sharp. So what was happening is that him was doing those calculations. In USA, we had there were two experimental physicists at the same time, Davison and Gamma.
Mm-hmm.
So Davison and Gamma, what they did is they they formed what we may call an X-ray, what we call it was more like a diffract. They were trying to carry out a diffractive experiment. So they had an electron gun to say. What they would do is that they would shoot. They were carrying out an experiment, so they would shoot electrons to a crystal, and then when the crystal hits what was happening, they would see the sparks diffracting. When they increase the voltage, the appearance was behaving the way light behaves, because by that time by that time it has already been discovered light is a wave. So the way light was behaving when you shoot light to that crystal, that is the way electrons were behaving. So then to their conclusion, they said, no, electrons, they also behave as a wave. They didn't know that a young man in France was presenting his paper that electrons are both waves as well as matter.
Um,
So it was the same way.
yes.
So the hypothesis and calculation of Louis de Broglie was proven by these American experimental physicists, Davidson and Gamow.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so that is what was more interesting about this. So
Wow.
thereafter, the yeah. So now, in other words, if you sit there, as you sit there, we have atoms. Now
Yeah.
within that atom, we expect electrons to be moving, but they move in waveform as a standing wave.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a rope, if you start doing this, then there will be a wave doing like this.
Yes.
A wave doing like this. Yeah. If you do it fast,
Mm-hmm.
something standing will form like we call it what we call a standing wave.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is
Yes.
how. That is what Louis de Broglie came up with. That no, there should be a standing wave. Now the question came is that now what happens to this wave if there is external force or external energy to it?
Yeah.
So that's when we have now this Australian physicist, Erwin Schrodinger. Now he came up with the Schrodinger equation. Now this equation is well known now. It's like now we have entered now in quantum physics,
In quantum
describing.
physics.
Yes, now Schrodinger describes what happens to this wave particle or electron if we add in energy into this and how we calculate the
In
energies.
terms of photons now.
No, before we are dealing with an electron. So photons
Okay.
is light. Yeah, so we're
Yes.
just dealing it with electrons. So what happens to this light? What happens to these electrons if we are describing as wave? So now,
Mm-hmm.
if Louis de Broglie is saying that in an atom without any external force, these electrons they will create a standing wave. Then Erwin Schrodinger said, okay, what happens then if we add energy into the atom?
Yeah.
Will they still be standing?
Mm-hmm.
So now, that is now Erwin Schrodinger now started describing an electron in form of the addition of energy, how it will be able to undertake a different position. And that
Wow.
is what so that's what happens even in the solar panels.
Mm.
Yes. That's what
Wow.
happened, yes, in the solar panel. So after that, that is now a conclusion which we are now using now that no, an atom, the model we all now have accepted is that an atom must have a nucleus. Within the nucleus must have
Yeah.
protons. And what holds these protons
Yeah.
together because they are positive is what we call the nuclear force. And then round about them,
Yes.
we have electrons which moves in wave motions. And this movement of wave
Mm.
motions make them strike the nucleus of an atom. And that is why we are able to live up to this. No wonder we do not die at the moment. Because
It's
if they were hitting the nucleus, we would have died at the moment. So now the
wow.
question is, we do not. No wonder you can even appreciate that we were made to live forever. Even with just this, you can tell that we are made to live forever. We were
Mm.
created to live forever. We exist. The core business of us to exist was to live forever, not to die. Just
Mm.
that just studying the model of an atom can give you that picture.
Wow, wow. That's really deep. That's really deep. And guys, make sure,
Yes.
Mr. Magaba, we can go forever with physics. He's very passionate about physics. He's a physicist. And if you want to hear more about him, guys, visit the website and see the books that he has produced. And he constantly visits us on this channel. We discuss about physics. And of late, of course, I've been asking you, Mr. Magawa, to come on this channel. I know you've been busy, you've been telling me there's something I'm working on. Finally, we got to see what you're working on, but would like to see you more and more so you can share with us all these details. I mean, physics made simple. Um, your passion of physics we can rub shoulders with you so we can, have that passion. So we can also love physics, everybody, students, young ones, everybody. So we can just enjoy physics in terms of understanding that it's really, really important to understand it because it's part of our lives. As you hear him saying, we were meant maybe to live forever, depending on how you process this, but science is telling us that. So make sure you can visit the website, Amazon, and look for Kenneth Magaba. So how should they type on Amazon besides the link that we've given? If they can just go there and type Magaba books, can that still come up? Your books can still come
Yes,
out?
just both names. Kent Magawa on Amazon, then all the books will show.
Okay.
So they can even go inside and then, but the link can be available because the link even gives them the preview of what is inside. But just
Yes.
type, they'll be able to see all the books. And
Wow.
one good thing about this book is now it now covers now all the topics in modern physics. After talking about the history, so now it talks about photoelectric effect. The one who came up with Albert Einstein, what was he doing, and all the formulas, the way they have been brought about. After that,
Wow.
Compton scattering. Scattering, then the uncertainty principle. So all these topics, they are there in that field. So now they say is introduction to modern and quantum physics. So
Wow.
that's why I
Guys,
love it.
make sure you go to the Amazon, go check it out, type in Kenneth Magawa. There's a link that I'm going to provide below. You just click on it, it will take you to Amazon. Check them out. Guys, this platform will provide resources. We bring in so many engineers, scientists, technologists, physicists to just share resources and also know where you can understand things much better. This is a platform where we also provide that. So thank you
Maybe
so much. Go ahead.
just one, maybe so when they go on the platform, so they will, it gives them on the interaction if they want to interact with the author. So there's that provision.
Okay.
So whatever questions, whatever they can write on there, I will be able to find it from there.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Guys, I'm appealing to industry people everywhere in the world, students, doctor students, engineering students, radiography students, nurses, everybody, students, guys, make sure you can check out these books. These books are actually created for you. Physics made simple, radiology made simple, everything. You can check the books out, guys, and please come back. We're going to have Mr. Magara again. Come back and, interact with him, ask him questions about these books. This is good knowledge that you can have for your exams, for your long life learning, for doctors, for consulting, radiology, for consultation to see exactly does this coincide with, whatever, as he has explained here. So make sure you can go to the website and check out these books. Thank you so much, guys. We have spent like an hour talking about this book. So this is enough information. And if you need anything, please let us know. And Mr. Magawa, I'll give you the last word to say something before we close.
Yeah. So um, one of my doctor or my lecturer told me this. Says a good physicist finds the new information and he shares it with the world.
Yeah.
So for you to be a good physicist, you find the information, you share with the world. So this information is for you. Um, this this is original material. So I had to move from industry and also make some interviews. So it's real information. It's important you have access to this information. All the books next week they will be reduced to prices, so they will be reduced to affordable prices. They were $200, now they will be just at $9.9. So $9.9, which means you can really afford that one. So just reduce so that at least people can, it's important people have information than them not having information. So I urge you to have access to these books, and very soon I'm trying to curtail some of the lectures in each book. I'll be making videos from there, and then we'll see how I'll be able to be working with my dear friend so that you can fully understand what is going on. So each lectures, and then explain this topic, explain, and then even provide the videos about them and even video simulation. Yes, just to help yeah, my audience and also the audience to my dear friend here. So I urge you to have access to it, and I appreciate you reading the book. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. So, for me, guys, I'm just excited about Mr. Magawa and his endeavors. The reason why I'm excited is as scientists, as engineers, as physicists, one thing is to share the knowledge. For example, this platform is to bring this content, interesting content, important content to you guys, students, scientists, industry, that you may benefit from this content. Also to encourage the young ones, those that we are encouraging to pursue STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so they can understand the world that we're dealing in, what we are doing, what resource we are providing. And I thank so much to Mr. Magaba for coming to this show and to always coming to this show to support us and supporting the world community at large. And that's his passion. He's trying to educate the world. So, guys, make sure you go to Amazon, look at these books, make sure you can buy them. Next time, guys, I'm going to show you that I've bought mine that I'll be reading as well. So thank you so much for coming, guys. I always do appreciate, and please look forward to what he's saying, that he will make some of the videos, some of the stuff to explain to us and also the viewers, so you can see exactly what he's doing. Because what we want is everybody to understand their environment, especially physics. So thank you so much for guys coming. I really do appreciate, and make sure you subscribe. Do not forget to hit that bell notification, and we love you, and ciao ciao.